In this next video, we're going to talk about repetition. Repetition is what makes the computer very powerful, as it can brute force solve problems or do things faster than a human can. First up are loops. There are two primary types of loops, the for loop and the while loop. In the for loop, you use a predefined range to control how long the computer will loop through something. Let's make a computer print numbers 1 through 10 for us automatically. We write for, then we need to use a variable and we can call it I. I is going to loop through the range, so in range for us. In range to tell the computer where to start and stop. Replit is handy and tells us parameters that we can put inside the range. The first value is the start value, so that will be 1 for us. The second is the stop value, and this is exclusive, so that means not including that number. If we want to print to 10, then 11 is the first number greater than 10, and 11 is not included. And optionally, we can even include an increment or decrement, which tells us how much to change the value by every time. The default is 1, so we don't need to write anything here. And then we can print I. If we do that, yes, Python gives us 1 through 10. And we can try the incrementer, so maybe we will try 2. And I will print 1 through 10, but going 2 at a time. So it only prints odds for us. In a while loop, you use a counter and define an ending point. We can do the exact same problem with a while loop. In a while loop, you use a counter and define an ending point. It's pretty similar to a for loop. We can do the exact same problem with a while loop. We need to list a start point this time, and while the variable is less than the stop condition, we keep printing. So I starts at 1, that's our starting point, while I is less than 11, or we could also write less than equal to 10, which is where we want to stop. We can print I. But now something important this time is to make sure to increment I, your counter. If you don't increment, you can get stuck in an infinite loop, which can crash your program because I will never increment and it will just stay in its constant space. And if we run it, we see that it goes from 1 through 10, which is exactly what we wanted before. And you can change the incrementation just like before. As you can see, these can be used interchangeably, so you just want to be efficient with which you use. For loops have a defined range, while while loops keep going until you reach a satisfactory condition. We've been doing a lot of numbers, but I just wanted to quickly note that you can compare individual characters in the same way as numbers. So an E character would be equal to another E character. Lastly, we can just quickly talk about the keywords of break, continue, and pass. They aren't used in every case, but can be handy in certain instances while using loops. The break function breaks out of the current loop and moves on to the next scenario. Say you want to print a word, but you dislike a letter. So if you encounter a letter, you immediately break and stop printing the word. This could be one time you use it. Let's say I don't like the letter L for some reason. So if we try to print a string called apple, we create apple as a string here, and we loop through it again for I, which is going to loop through the characters in apple for us, in S, which is the string. We want to have a condition if I, which is the character being tested, is the same as the character L, which I don't like, then I'm going to want to break out of this for loop. Else, I can print the character. Just print. As you can see, it's outside of the if statement and outside of the colon, making sure the indentation is proper. So here, if I have apple, it gets to A, it will print P, P, but then it gets to L and it doesn't like it, so it will just stop printing the whole thing. And it should print app this time for us, which is exactly what it does. The continue function is a small skip function for loops. Say you want to print consecutive numbers, but skip an unlucky number like 13. In this case, you can skip 13 and keep printing by using the continue function. Say you want to print consecutive numbers, but skip an unlucky number like 13. In this case, you can skip 13 and keep printing by using the continue function. For I in range, we want to print from 1 all the way to, let's say, 14. If the number I is equal to 13, it's unlucky, so we don't want it. All we have to do is not print it and continue. And outside of this if statement, which is for all other numbers, excluding 13, we simply want to print that number. We can try it out. It gives us 1 through 14, but as you can see, it skipped 13, which is what we want. Pass is a do-nothing function. Sometimes you just need a placeholder or a null function, and this is where pass can come in handy. You might need something for later, but not now, and by writing pass, you can keep it in your code, but keep it dormant until use later. So if it's equal to 13, we could just pass, not do anything, and continue to print 13. Which is what it does here. 1 through 14 includes 13. Pass is basically do nothing, so it continues and prints out 13 here. Many times there are other logical ways to get around these words, but it's always good to know. Like for the continue function, for example, you can just print if the number is not equal to 13 instead of skipping over 13. If I is not equal to 13, you're going to want to print it. And this will print 1 through 14 without 13 for us, which is what it did before. So there are many ways of writing a lot of these things without necessarily using these words. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time.